No longer content to just let those under his power fight for him, the King Rhoam, Bosphoramos Hyrule himself, has brought his massive blade to bear against the forces of Calamity. Using both his guises as the King and the Hermit, in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, players can intermingle his two fighting styles at will. But without an understanding of how to use him, it can be tricky to get the most out of him. Let's jump on in and find out everything that he can do. The King's regular attack string consists of 7 attacks. He will slash to the left, to the right, spin and slash right, do 2 quick upward slashes, do another large slash to the right, make a big slash back left, and finish with 1 final vertical slash. Now if you know the King, then you know that this isn't all there is to him, so before we go any further, let's cover his unique action, which directly plays into his regular attack string and a lot of other things going further. When used, the King will change guises, from the King to the Hermit, or the Hermit to the King. This is notable because while the attack string he does is almost identical, in general the King uses heavy, powerful attacks, while the Hermit uses quicker, less damaging attacks. Despite this difference, the capabilities of the character is pretty much the same between the two forms, and you can pretty much choose to stick to whichever one you prefer as you fight with him. However, do note that there are a lot of benefits built into his playstyle to switching your guys back and forth very frequently. Something extra to note here is that if you perform a weak point smash, you will always revert back to the form of the King. Again, there's a lot more to get into here when it comes to his unique action and the King's other attacks, but we'll get to all of that in time. For now, let's finish covering the rest of his basic moves. For his regular dashing attack, the King will use his weapon to do a thrust attack, which brings him to a stop where he can then transition into his regular attack string. For his strong dash attack, the King does a running spin and then continues back to running. This attack can be used to pick up KOs while on the move, or just to get a bit of special charge while you're going to wherever you want to go. Next up, let's jump to his aerial moves, and for his regular aerial attack string, the King, or the Hermit, will do 3 attacks with their weapon. And after this, you can also fit in his strong aerial, which will have him do a stabbing attack back down to the ground. Last up for this section, let's quickly cover his Sheikah Slate runes. Starting off with Stasis, the King will time lock enemies around him before entering a stance, in which he can release stored energy in an explosion. You can either dodge cancel out of the stance, or you can hit X to make it explode. And if you hit the X button while the King's body is glowing, he will do a larger explosion than normal. Next up for his Cryonis rune, the King will bring up an ice block and enter another stance. And if you hit X here, he will then break the block, sending out ice shards which will damage your foes. If you want to leave the block in place, just dodge cancel out of this. For his Magnesis rune, the King will grab any metallic objects a short distance in front of him, and then use them to spin and attack your foes. Of course, if you're unable to grab anything with this rune, it will simply fail, but it will also not trigger your rune cooldown. Last up here, his Remote Bomb rune will have him throw out a very large bomb forward, which explodes into several smaller bombs that fly out in different directions. The King throws all of this out very quickly, making it a very swift rune indeed. Well, with all of his most basic moves covered, let's jump over to his many strong attacks and how they play into his guise mechanic next. While the King really does have 2 different playstyles, functionally the same numbered attacks in each guise has a very similar use. I'll be covering all of these a little bit faster than normal in order to make sure I can fit them all in with good time. Let's start with his strong attacks while in the guise of the King. For his first strong attack, he will do a large spinning attack with his blade. His second strong attack is a big horizontal slash to the right. For the third strong attack, he will jump and stab his sword into the ground, creating a circular area of attack. The King's fourth strong attack has him do a vertical slash that sends a wind cut forward a small distance. Next, the fifth one has him stab his sword down, doing another area of damage where he crushes the ground. And last up as the King, his sixth strong attack has him do a series of cuts, ending with one last big smash at the end. The last attack of this forces out your enemy's weak points, which of course you will want to freeze with the Stasis rune, and then transition right into another strong attack, or strong attack combo. Let's jump over to his Hermit guy's strong attacks now. His first Hermit strong attack has him do a quick spin attack that sends him a little bit forward. As you can see, this is very similar to the equivalent on the King side. His second strong attack has him spin his axe, which also spawns a short-lived tornado, which also does further damage. His third is a series of cuts before a final slam. His fourth has him spin around in a controllable burst attack with his axe. The fifth strong attack will have the Hermit dash and then attack forward. And last up, his sixth strong attack will have him throw out his axe like a boomerang before he catches it to do one big vertical attack, with the last part of this also naturally exposing your enemy's weak point gauges. Now that we've covered all of his base strong attacks, we can start to talk about adding in his unique action, which is able to be used after every single one of these strong attacks to simultaneously switch his guys over to the other form, while also adding in a further strong attack, which is going to be a bit stronger than normal. The attack that he uses will always be the one from the other guys plus one attack. For example, if you switch guises on the first strong attack, the one that he uses from his other guys will be the second strong attack. If you use this on his sixth strong attack, the next attack that he uses from his other guys will swing back around to doing his very first attack. Using this guise changing mechanic allows the King to fit in a lot more damage for very extended combos. And to make this even better, in the post-game, the King gets an enhancement that allows him to create a red aura for a short while after doing a successful strong attack guise switch. This aura will buff up his damage even further. You can use this guise switching mechanic in some very creative ways. For example, just one easy one, if you think about it, the King is always able to make sure he can reveal weak points when getting to any fifth strong attack as well as his sixth, as on the fifth attack in either form, he can then switch guises to bring out his sixth strong attack in addition to what he was doing. Due to getting so much benefit for constantly switching forms like this, it really is worth getting to know both sides of him. With all of his many attacks finally covered, let's jump over to his weapons and weapon build recommendation next. King Rhoam has 3 possible weapons, and going from weakest to strongest, they are his Soldier's Claymore, Knight's Claymore, and Royal Claymore. I'll put a chart up on screen right now to show off their hidden level 25 and 30 seals, but for my weapon build recommendation today, I'm going to be focusing on his Royal Claymore. Given that his weapon already has 2 square-shaped seals that come with it, I would first start out by putting in 2 more attack speed seals, and then thinking about 2 other of another seal to add to make sure that we can get the maximum attack bonus of plus 20. For those 2 remaining seals, probably the best choice for King Rhoam would be to add in 2 strong attack damage seals. Unless of course you just want to go with full attack speed anyway, which would still give you a plus 15 attack bonus, which is not bad at all. This can be a little bit hard to find, so maybe think about a split build if the seals are just not dropping. And just like that, we have King Rhoam covered. Let's put everything together to see where he ends up. To me, the King in Age of Calamity is quite simply a blast to play as. When you fully understand how to implement both of his guises, this character both has the benefits of being a typical strong but slow bruiser, as well as a quicker, more agile character. And I find the ways that they encourage players to switch between both of his modes to end up creating one of the most interesting Warriors playstyles to date. And thankfully, uniqueness is not his only positive trait. When you do know what you're doing, the King can absolutely tear up the battlefield, and thanks to his 2 fighting styles, he's pretty much ready for just about anything. Truly, this is a king who is worthy of his title. So, what are your thoughts on King Rhoam? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and also if there was anything big that I missed, go ahead and drop that down below as well. I'll be making a pinned comment on this video if I have to for anything big that I may have forgotten about. As always, thank you so much for watching everyone, and I hope to see you next time. Big thank you to my top patrons DW7 Still Rules, Henry Gutierrez, and Ryan Poe, as well as to all of my other patrons on Patreon. If you would like to support this channel and my main channel Shanebrained, check out the links in the description. Thank you all very much.